for waterways management, including nature-based seawalls and the sugar sector. And for the implications to the agricultural sector, should Fiji exceed, the Pacific Resilience Facility will provide a dedicated funding stream for community-level climate adaptation, specifically addressing gaps in current global funding or current global financing. And the first point that we've got there is around climate-smart agriculture. The Ministry views the facility as a vital vehicle for scaling climate-smart agriculture technologies. And these include drip irrigation, climate-resilient seed varieties, water-efficient farming systems, sustainable soil and land management, and community-based food security initiatives. These management interventions are essential to address the projected rise in cyclones and droughts, while strengthening the agricultural sector through increased investment in resilient and sustainable practices. By promoting climate resilience, crop varieties, and improved resource management, the facility directly supports the development of resilient and food-secure sustainable communities. The second bullet point is around rural livelihoods and food security. So by providing small-scale grants, these directly to the farmers and local organizations, the facility can reduce food insecurity and support economic recovery after disasters without increasing national debt. And the third bullet point here, ladies and gentlemen, is around infrastructure. And the agreement supports financing for nature-based seawalls and hybrid infrastructure solutions, enabling the scaling up of watershed rehabilitation, riparian buffer restoration, erosion control, and nature-based solutions, such as mangrove restoration and living shorelines. And these interventions help reduce flood risk, protect coastlines, and enhance overall ecosystem health, while also directing funding towards resilient agricultural infrastructure, including small-scale systems or small-scale farming systems, community-based water catchments, and flood protection measures such as those planned under the Nandi Flood Alleviation Project. Under the sugar sector, ladies and gentlemen, the sugar industry will benefit from investment in drainage rehabilitation, flood protection structures, climate resilient cane production systems, and maintenance of rural access routes critical for cane supply during extreme weather events. And this supports safeguarding rural incomes and production stability. And number two is the anticipated implications for Fiji and the communities. And the accession to the Pacific Resilience Facility offers an opportunity to strengthen national and community-level climate resilience through simplified access to grant financing for climate adaptation, disaster preparedness, rapid response mechanisms, and nature-based solutions. And these will result in reduced disaster losses, enhanced adaptive capacity, and improved livelihoods for vulnerable rural communities. And number three is around policy, legislation, and institutional considerations. Acceding to the agreement will require Fiji to also align its domestic agricultural, legal, and institutional frameworks with the Pacific Resilience Facility governance and reporting and safeguards and public financial management standards, ensuring full compliance with the fund's operational and accountability requirements. And to effectively manage these obligations and strengthen national readiness, the Ministry recommends establishing a dedicated Pacific Resilience Facility project preparation and delivery unit to coordinate pipeline development, oversee compliance, and safeguard policies, support implementation, and monitor reporting performance and outcomes. And under policy alignment, the Pacific Resilience Facility aligns with the Fiji's National Development Plan for 2025 to 2029 and its vision till 2050, which prioritizes building resilient food systems and improving rural access to resources. And under legislative integration, while the facility is a regional treaty, Fiji must also ensure that the domestic frameworks such as the Agricultural Landlord and Tenants Act and the Crop Liens Act are harmonized to protect farmers' investments in the Pacific Resilience Facility funded resilience project. And in terms of institutional capacities, the ministry must strengthen its internal capacities to support communities in applying for and managing the Pacific Resilient Facility grants, ensuring these funds complement existing bilateral programs. And one example is the Pacific Climate, Agriculture and Sustainable Land Management Partnership. And number 4 is cross-cutting benefits. And the accession is expected to improve rural livelihoods, enhance national food security, strengthen resilience infrastructure, and introduce improved public financial management and safeguard frameworks through the Pacific Resilient Facility capacity building provisions. And finally, our conclusions and recommendations. The Ministry of Agriculture and Waterways and now Sugar strongly supports Fiji's accession to the Pacific Resilience Facility Agreement, viewing it as a transformative solution that places green and blue Pacific communities at the center of resilience building and financing. Accession to the facility will unlock targeted grant funding, essential for reducing climate and disaster risks across agriculture, waterways, and coastal communities, strengthening national resilience, safeguarding livelihoods, and protecting critical infrastructure. The Ministry is confident that the substantial benefits of joining the Pacific Resilience Facility will far outweigh any potential implementation challenges, which can be effectively managed through well-coordinated institutional arrangements. With that, Chair, Secretariat, and honorable members, I finish off. Thank you for giving me the time to present our views to you in our level.
Thank you, PS, for the very comprehensive input towards supporting the Pacific Resilience Facility. The committee is also in support for it, but it was important to hear different stakeholders and ensure that we strengthen the coordination among the ministries and the sectors so we can achieve our targets and the targets for the National Development Plan. Now, I open the floor for questions from the honorable members. The floor is yours, members.
Through you, Chair, on institutional capacity, you mentioned about the Pacific Climate Smart Agriculture and Sustainable Land Management Partnership. It's an ongoing program. Can you briefly highlight a little bit more on that, please?
Thank you for the question, honorable member. With this, when the new government or the new administration came back into power, the first thing we did when I came into the Ministry for Agriculture then was to re-establish the division for land resources and planning division. So with that, we have strengthened our climate smart agriculture programs that we are currently implementing with the farmers on the ground and the communities, as well as with strengthening the capacities with other line ministries that we work with. And also with the grant that you mentioned, the Pacific Climate Smart Agriculture and Sustainable Land Management Partnership. This is an agreement with the Government of New Zealand, which has just started, and we are currently working on the specific activities that we will be implementing in order to mitigate climate impact impacts that we are currently facing with the farmers and communities in Fiji. I hope that answers the question, Honorable Member.
Just a follow-up question. So the impact will be to the impact on the exports of our agriculture produce to New Zealand. And with the accession to PRF, it would help our farmers. So it's targeted to certain crops only. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly you are correct. It will, at the moment, we are targeting farmers that are also carrying out exports, not only with the partnership program, but with other programs that we currently have with our budget allocations. And one of those is to support farmers that are currently exporting to New Zealand and other countries in the Pacific. So, for example, we are also supporting agro-processors to be able to buy more from the farmers to process, package them, and then export them to New Zealand and to other countries as well. But one of our core activities or deliverables is also around food and nutrition security and livelihood. So we are also supporting, the other farmers to come up from the subsistence scale of farming up to the medium and commercial scale. So through climate smart agricultural programs, we also supporting them to be able to have to build the capacities around climate smart technologies to be able to mitigate some of the impacts of climate that is impacting them at the moment.
Deputy Chair, through you, just my last final question maybe. It's to do with the insurance of the crops that we have in our country. I know for a fact that sugarcane is one that is heavily subsidized and insured by government. How about other crop commodity that we have? If you can highlight on it.
Yeah, we currently have a body that also sits within the Ministry of Agriculture and Waterways called the Fiji Crop and Livestock Council. So they are currently running a program called the parametric insurance. So these are, they have farmers as well that, can be compensated through this insurance scheme, particularly after extreme weather events. But for the Ministry of Agriculture, under our current programs, we all normally also, assist the farmers to come back up on their feet, after natural extreme weather events like flooding or cyclones. We also have avenues where we can redeploy funds to be able to help the farmers to get back on their feet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Chair, through you, sir. On the same issue, on the legislative integration, you're talking about harmonizing ALTA and also the Crop Liens Act to protect the farmers' investments. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Honourable Member. At the moment, I think a background would be most of the legislation and acts that currently govern the work that we do at the Ministry of Agriculture, Waterways and Sugar are outdated. So we've got an endorsement from Cabinet last year to start reviewing all the acts that we have. And at the moment we have around 26 acts that govern the work that the Ministry of Agriculture and Waterways do. And we have a few more now that is coming in from the sugar sector. I think 3 or about 4 of them. So what we've done is we have faced them, because to review this act, it first of all has to have input from the stakeholders as well as from government before it will go to the legislative or legal drafting with the Solicitor General's office. So it is a time-consuming process. So we have already embarked on having them phased out. For example, for this financial year, we are doing 5 of them. There are some other non-governmental organizations that are assisting us as well. But one of the important ones, as you've asked about, is the ALTA. And, since it's outdated, and also with the Crop Liens Act, I think it's around the compensation and money. And they don't really, tie in well. Like, there seems to be some duplication in some parts, and there seems to be some limitation in other parts. So that's what we are going to work on, to have it reviewed and get all the inputs from the stakeholders before we try to finalize it through the legal drafting process. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Through you, sir, just a follow-up on that. To encourage farmers to invest in the farms, I think what farmers are looking at is longer lease terms. So is it something you are looking into?
Certainly, I think that has been a drawback for most of the farmers. And this is something we've also experienced over the years. Most farmers are not willing to reinvest into their farms if the lease term is short. So this is something that we are also working very closely on or with the Itoke ministry and also with other line ministries like the provincial offices over the country, within the country. So this is something that we find is certainly a limitation, and I think that's something that we need to discuss and agree on how we can make that condition more favorable to the farmers. Thank you very much, Honourable Member.
The last one from me, Deputy Chair. A lot of farmers have actually left farms due to expiry of leases. So, what is your ministry doing to get these farmers back into farming or get new farmers back into farming? Because just leaving their lands idle is not good for the economy. So, what is your ministry doing in these regards?
Yes, thank you, Honourable Member. Within our ministry, we also have several programs to try and attract, farmers back. And one of the issues, as you've correctly mentioned, is being able to have a lease arrangement or title to a land. Because once you have that, then that would certainly mean they would be able to seek funding from funding sources. For example, if you wanted to get a loan from the bank to develop your farm, one of the requirements is a lease to the land. So we are also certainly working on that. One of the programs we currently run as well is called with the acronym CBOOD. I think you all know that. It's the commercial better utilization of land. And that currently is funds that we give to the landowners so that they can give their consent to lease their land. So that is something that is currently being run by us at the moment, and the TLTB. So that's an area that we can assist to try and ensure that we get new farmers to lease lands to do agricultural production. And we also have programs, for example, to assist them with farm roads. For example, if there is a community in an area that has 20 farmers, they don't have a farm road, so we are assisting them also with getting the farm roads done so that they can speed up their production, they can harvest and just bring it to the transport. We also have programs for land clearing and land preparation. So these are programs that we currently run within our ministries on a 1/3, 2/3 basis. So these are things that we currently have to try and ensure that farmers come back and farm the land so that we can have the production that we are looking for. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister.
Deputy Chair, just the last one. Is there any data on how many farmers you were able to convince or get new farmers into farming? Is there any data on that?
We have data, but I currently don't have the updated ones with me. I was just at the opening of a midterm review this morning. And for example, in this financial year, 2025-2026, we are looking at bringing or supporting 5,200 farmers. So something like that. But should you need updated data, we can certainly compile that and bring that back to you at a later time. Thank you very much, Honourable Member.
You, Deputy Chair, with the reorganization of the Drainage Board, the improvement of farm roads, the introduction of farm mechanization that are through the 1/3, 2/3 government initiative, we are expecting greater yield and things like that. In terms of this particular crop, the ginger, I was told by some of the farmers who are investing into ginger farming that they cannot sell all their produce because of only one or two buyers in the country. What would be your take on that?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Honorable Member. When I first started in 2023, I encountered that situation. But as I've said, within our current programs, we also have support for agro-processors. And one of the things that we've done is to support their processing plants so that they are able to buy more from the farmers. So that's one way we've worked on it. The other way is to support, new processors that are willing to also come in. It not only applies for the ginger commodity, but for other commodities like, for example, processors that are producing cassava flour, producing kava. There's so many other processors that are there. So we are also supporting them through trying to get them to expand their capacities to be able to buy more from the farmers and process more at their facilities. Yeah? So that's one of the ways that we are trying to solve that problem. Thank you very much.
Deputy Chair, is there any timeline on a PS on that farmers can look forward to? Is there any timeline in the improvement of the production facility that are in the pipeline at the moment?
Well, we are continuously working on that, right throughout this 25-26 financial year, and then through the next financial year as well, because we find that this is very important. Because it's also a drawback to the farmers. For example, if they plant a lot of cassava, and when they bring it to AMA, the Agricultural Marketing Authority, the authority can only purchase so much. The rest goes to waste. And, it's a drawback, so that the following year, the farmers won't invest in planting. Very similar to rice. What we've done for rice, we've put in a few new rice harvesters. We've put in one in Ba. But at the moment, the production is still quite low. So with those facilities, we are trying to promote the farmers now, to plant more rice and bring it in through. Because we are still growing very little, but we are still importing a lot. For example, at the moment, we are importing more than, I think, close to 50,000 metric tons of rice, while we are only producing a bit more than 8,000 metric tons. So there's a huge gap. So we are trying to build the facilities at the same time, ensure that from our end, the farmers come in and grow the rice. But of course, there are also those other constraints like, land tenure systems. It's very fragmented. They have short land lease periods. They don't have money, to do land preparation. All those things. So we have, most of that in our farm support programs. But it's always advisable to get those farmers in those different geo-locations to come through their offices and come right up to headquarters to seek assistance from us. So those are some of the programs we are having to try and support. Even some of the agro-processors, we've provided assistance such as three-phase power, so that they can run their bigger machines to process more of these agricultural communities. But that's something very important for us, and we are supporting that through this financial year and then hopefully to the next financial year, because with all the data and indication we are finding, that is a need, and that is the way forward for us to go away, to make an impact. Thank you very much, Honourable Member.
Just a reminder, just to keep the questions aligned to the PRF agreement, to the Ministry of Agriculture. But thank you. Okay, I guess I have a question regarding the legislative integration aspect. I see that, okay, there is the Landlord-Tenant Act, Crop Liens Act. Okay, so PS, I think this needs to go out in public as well, that, okay, the pandemic was a wake-up call for us. And the Pacific Resilience Facility also provides us some some opportunities of legislative reforms. So in this reform, I'd actually come from the pandemic down to this question. For Fiji to keep its economy and people alive, we probably need another $4 billion. And knowing our tourism industry is dependent on tourists, basically power that's beyond the shores. And I always feel, because I'm a farmer, that agriculture should be the core of any economy. And that's why the investments are so important. So with the PRF now that's around, that Fiji will accede to, have you or would you be in the position to measure the amount of crops that we import and as to how we can produce those crops right here in Fiji, and if sufficient land is provided to do so? In talking to TLTB that has 92% of land, I think that would really strengthen the core of agriculture, contributing towards Fiji's economy. So with this legislative integration, are you looking at other areas of legislative reforms that ensures that Fiji has sufficient land, agricultural land, always available, just so that when any future crisis comes, Fiji stands strong because its pillars, one of its pillars is agriculture and fisheries and so. So are you looking at other reforms for this opportunity?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question, Chair. I think with this facility, there is a huge potential for having or to have a better coordinated approach, between all the land ministries within government, as well as with the other, donor agencies that are around. And one of the things we just discussed this morning before coming in is, with the huge numbers of assistance that is coming in, some coming directly to the government, some coming into other NGOs that are already sitting within the country. I think it needs a better coordinated approach. And with that, it will certainly, how should I say, open up the door, for all our commitments to be channeled through a common platform or facility, so that there, we can ensure that there is a minimum duplication. I know that in the past, there's so much assistance that has come in. Some people have been assisted 1, 2, 3, 4 times, but some other communities or entities, have been trying, but nothing, just because they didn't know how to, write up a concept paper, or they did not know which door to enter. So I think with this facility, it will certainly mean that we have a better coordinated approach. It will also certainly mean for the Ministry of Agriculture and other ministries within the government to align themselves to, this coordinating facility, so that we can also ensure that our normal, routine work continues, and who we can assign to work on other, donor projects that do come in. Because something that I see at the moment is there is a lot of projects that are coming in. For example, from one we currently have running now is coming in from funding from the European Union. So it's a project that is working on transforming food systems within Fiji, also within the Solomon Islands and Samoa. But sometimes if we are not coordinating very well, then some of our people, even though we are already very limited in numbers at the moment, some of them tend to spend a bit more time there while not doing the work that they are, mandated or employed to do. So I'm not saying that this is a not thing, this is a bad thing, but we need all the help we need the funding we need, but we need a better coordinated approach to ensure that work on both sides continue. So I think around legislation, I think it's probably the SOPs on how we can put in place to coordinate better within government and also within the external parties and the communities on the ground, to ensure that funding is coming in and used properly, and then it will have a better return on investment. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Piers. Sorry to put you on the spot again. Let's just say the funding received from the PRF, how does your ministry work in terms of prioritizing where to channel these funds, whether it's livestock, drainage, climate smart? How do you process?
Yeah, thank you. That's also a very good question. Well, at the moment, we have our strategic development plan, and this plan is linked to the national development plan for the government. And within that plan, we have certain outputs that we want to achieve within the financial year. So with additional funding that do come in, we channel those funding to where the demand is high. For example, if we wanted to, just to give you an example, at the moment we have a shortage of pork production in Fiji. Because during the COVID period, most of the small, medium farms closed down. Right? So there is a need now to re-establish most of the small piggery farms in Fiji, so we can increase the number of piggery farms and reduce the amount of pork that we're importing. Yeah? And for example, through our normal allocation for 25-26, the 2025-2026 financial year, we can only supply X number of systems to get these piggeries back on their feet through infrastructure. This funding that will come in will top up some of that. So that's the way we are doing it. To go beyond, over and beyond what we currently have, based on the demand that we have on the ground. And that demand that we have on the ground will be based on the in relation to the imports and trying to plug that gap. But also at the same time to ensure that we have food and nutrition security, as well as the generation of livelihoods for people in the subsistence sector. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Piers, just the last question, because you've mentioned sugar sector and now sugar falling under your ministry. My question is related to the parametric insurance that you have spoken of. Can the farmers who are not able to harvest their crops, would they be able to apply for this parametric insurance? And if furthermore, will the PRF framework or support insurance for the sugarcane farmers in particular? Just a quick one on that.
Well, I think the potential is there. If you can look at the facility again, or the agreement, to see if we can somehow include that. But I'm not too sure whether it's already set in stone, or are we able to change the components of that resilience facility or agreement. But just to take it a bit further, I think we all know now that the sugar sector has come under the portfolio of the Ministry of Agriculture since a month ago. But at the moment, we are still in the process of trying to, for them to hand over to our ministry before we can, make good or solid decisions regarding the sugar sector in Fiji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Piers. I see no further questions, and looking at the times that we have, thank you for the presentation, and I sincerely thank you, all the representatives from the Ministry of Agriculture, Waterways, and Sugar for availing themselves this morning. We appreciate your time and cooperation, and we look forward to your continued engagement. Should the committee require any further information, it has been a very comprehensive and insightful presentation, and I'm sure those viewers who are watching have got a lot to absorb, and we're in support of the Pacific Resilience Facility. And on that note, I declare this meeting closed. Vinaka.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I also